If you were on the scene and you were powerful, like, to be honest, like, if you're not in those files, it would be an insult because it just means that you were a bit of a loser.
She wrote, your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries and mutilate and kill them as a form of blood sacrifice to their god.
Epstein was possibly about to cooperate with the feds right before he died.
Now, Oprah is limited in the context of the files, but there is clear collusion between Oprah and Jeffrey Epstein.
The Department of Justice just dropped over 3,000 pages tied to Jeffrey Epstein, and buried in that mountain of paper is a name that won't quit, Oprah. She pops up repeatedly in contact logs and emails, sending the internet into a frenzy of speculation about just how cozy she might have been with Epstein. From casual snapshots showing her orbiting his world to alleged email mentions, online sleuths are already piecing together theories that are as chilling as they are eyebrow-raising. Today, we're diving headfirst into the Epstein files to see if Oprah really had any part in this shadowy network. Her name keeps appearing across court documents, email chains, contact lists, and summarized testimony. Sure, a name drop doesn't prove guilt, but critics argue that the sheer repetition is hard to ignore, especially stacked against years of lingering whispers and internet rumors. People have long wondered why the same A-list figures kept circling Epstein's inner circle. And while being listed in a document doesn't automatically mean criminal activity, some claim high-profile connections like Oprah's may have inadvertently lent Epstein a veneer of legitimacy in elite circles. Certain emails even hint that Epstein was scheming to polish his image through media giants, targeting anyone with cultural clout, yes, Oprah included. Of course, skeptics claim some of these messages are totally fabricated or twisted out of context. But, to really figure out if Oprah had any part in this, we need to hit rewind. Back in 2007, she proudly unveiled the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa, billed as a shining beacon of global empowerment. Fast forward a few years, and that shining image got seriously tarnished when a staff member was accused of abuse. An ugly revelation critics say cracked Oprah's meticulously polished humanitarian reputation. Around that same time, reports started surfacing about young girls mysteriously disappearing. Before long, a female dorm supervisor faced accusations of physically and sexually abusing the students in her charge. Over 15 girls eventually came forward, recounting repeated patterns of mistreatment that rocked public confidence. In the aftermath, some former students openly wondered how much top leadership knew and when. But to be clear, there's still no evidence Oprah personally knew anything about the abuse.
Former dormitory matron charged with abusing 6 students at Oprah Winfrey School for Girls in South Africa is resuming. Prosecutors say former dorm matron Tina Virginia Makopo tried to kiss and fondle the girls. She's also accused of kicking and hitting some of them. Makopo pleaded innocent to 14 charges of indecent assault and criminal injury in South Africa. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, the ex-headmistress of the $40 million school is suing Winfrey for defamation. The suit claims someone would conclude from Winfrey's comments that the school employee knew of the alleged abuse and was actively involved in covering it up.
I was, needless to say, devastated and really shaken to my core.
Winfrey said she was disappointed in the former headmistress. The TV talk show host also made comments about students who felt there was an atmosphere of repression at the school.
And I spoke to all the girls personally, and I encouraged all of them, any of them who had actually been harmed, to please.
A viral tweet claims Oprah had a link to Jeffrey Epstein, citing documents where a woman alleged he offered her cash to both babies for the black market. The same email name drops John of God, reportedly tied to Oprah, who ended up in prison for keeping women and children in horrific underground conditions, forcing pregnancies for organ harvesting and black market sales, then disposing of them when they were no longer useful. Truly monstrous, deserving far more than prison. What you're about to hear sounds straight out of a late-night conspiracy fever dream, but insiders and outspoken celebrities insist the industry hides horrors far beyond what the public imagines. Rumors swirl about elite executives with twisted obsessions, stories so grotesque they barely seem human. One controversial figure, Peter J. Nygård, once mingling in celebrity circles and appearing near Oprah's world, was allegedly recorded making horrifying demands, pressuring women for fetal remains. The details alone churn your stomach. Whether every allegation holds up or not, one thing is certain. Beneath Hollywood's glitzy red carpets and flashing cameras lie shadows most people cannot fathom. And the deeper you peek, the uglier it gets.
You can get paid a lot more than that. much do you want for it? Let's bid. I bid $500, but I'm prepared to outbid him anyway. Whatever I bid, he's going to outbid me. I bought about $60,000 worth of eggs. Yeah. If you have a portion, that's very valuable. Umbilical cord, and placenta, even your period blood is so rich with stem cells. We regard it as waste, and it actually should be. It should be captured as recycled, and it shouldn't go to waste. It's life for somebody, It's life for
George Warbush.
No, the best eggs are 16 to 18 years old. Those are the best eggs.
16 to 18-year-olds.
Your eggs get weaker.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So you may not be our top candidate.
No, that's fine.
A tweet claims Oprah had ties to Jeffrey Epstein, citing documents where a woman said he offered her money to bear babies for the black market. The same email mentions John of God, reportedly linked to Oprah, who went to prison for imprisoning women and children underground, forcing pregnancies for organ harvesting and black market sales, then disposing of them when no longer useful. Truly a monstrous case demanding more than prison. What you're about to hear sounds like a late-night conspiracy fever dream, but insiders and outspoken celebrities insist the industry hides horrors far darker than anyone realizes. Rumors swirl about powerful executives with grotesque obsessions, stories so disturbing they barely sound human. One controversial figure, Peter J. Nygård, who once circulated in celebrity circles and appeared near Oprah's World, was allegedly recorded making horrifying demands, pressuring women for fetal remains. The details alone will make your stomach churn. Whether every allegation is true or not, one fact stands. Beneath Hollywood's sparkling red carpets and flashing cameras lie shadows most people cannot imagine. And the deeper you peer, the uglier it gets.
Minaj had to say. She wrote, "Your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries and mutilate and kill them as a form of blood sacrifice to their god. You see, when your master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood. However, the jig is up." She's not the first person in Hollywood to say that. I just don't know how much could be in our face anymore before we wake up and realize these people are ruling over us and they win when we're fighting with each other. That's just the reality. I really don't see how you can have a ton of success in Hollywood and not be in the club, because Hollywood was founded upon this. I just don't really care what you call me.
In the end, everything circles back to one chilling question. What exactly was Epstein doing with the children around him? Depending on who you ask, the answers split into two completely different and equally disturbing stories. Several of Epstein's alleged victims later stepped forward, describing what they believed was something far more sinister than anyone expected. According to their testimony, Epstein wasn't just exploiting people. He was allegedly fixated on building something twisted, almost clinical, like a so-called baby farm hidden away on his private ranch. One sworn statement paints an especially unsettling picture. The witness claimed that Epstein openly spoke with scientists and wealthy businessmen about using his New Mexico property as a controlled site where women would be inseminated with his sperm and pressured to carry his children to term. According to the account, he wasn't whispering these ideas. He described them like a business plan. Mr. Dr. Epstein allegedly wanted as many as 20 women pregnant at the same time at his massive 33,000 cu-feet Zorro ranch tucked into a quiet town outside Santa Fe. And if those claims are true, this wasn't about desire or impulse. It was something colder, more calculated. Epstein reportedly obsessed over concepts like eugenics, genetic manipulation, and engineering his own bloodline as if human lives were nothing more than experiments on a board. What's even more unsettling is that these conversations weren't happening in dark corners or hidden rooms. He allegedly hosted polished dinners, private lunches, and invitation-only gatherings attended by some of the world's most influential scientific minds. At one point, the talk even drifted towards so-called designer babies. In his mind, it seemed the goal wasn't just control. It was to manufacture what he considered the perfect human.
Epstein files, it literally shows emails that Jeffrey Epstein was creating designer babies. I really want to know why we haven't heard the DOJ talk about this, especially since some of the survivors said that this happened to them in Jeffrey Epstein's New Mexico property, Zorro Ranch. How I found out that he was working with another person to create these designer babies is because I saw him ordering a lot of 23andMe kits, and he was sending them to a lot of different people as gifts. In this email, he was sending some to Woody Allen and his adopted daughter at one point in time, who is now his wife. And I started to see a lot of emails in the Epstein files of people saying that they were pregnant to Jeffrey Epstein, or even alluding that he had actual children. Like this email in 2011 to Jeffrey Epstein, and it appears to be from Sarah Ferguson. And it said, "You have disappeared. I didn't even know you were having a baby. It's so crystal clear to me that you were only friends with me to get to Andrew. And that really hurt me deeply, more than you will know. Congratulations on your baby boy." And this email in 2006 from Glenn Dubin to Jeffrey Epstein. "I get pictures of you flying over Mount Fiji, and I have to find out from Benghazi that you have twin babies. Eva and I are so excited for you. Please send pictures ASAP." And Glenn Dubin says, "Test tube babies, just thinking." Started looking up the term babies in the Epstein files, and this is when I came across this. It was titled Designer Babies in August of 2018, and he has it on like an agenda. Then I found this email, and it's from Brian Bishop to Jeffrey Epstein, and it's Designer Babies / Brian Bishop. So I looked up who Brian Bishop was, because I was like, why are they saying designer babies? And it says, Brian Bishop is a software engineer and a biohacker who gained attention for his attempts to fund and advance a do-it-yourself or DIY designer baby project using Bitcoin. His project aimed to utilize the CRISPR gene editing technology to engineer human embryos for enhanced traits, such as increased muscle mass or improved memory. And this is the next email I found about designer babies, and it's from Brian Bishop to Jeffrey Epstein, and it says, "Here is a deck about my designer baby project. I have talked with Austin again, and we have a series of questions about how serious you are about wanting this, and what are the ground rules for me even exploring this with you." And
horrifying rumors swirled about Epstein's private island, stories so grotesque they still haunt years later. After his 2006 arrest, the truth hit hard. Jeffrey Epstein's name was radioactive. The walls were closing in, and he needed an escape plan. So, like any seasoned manipulator, he turned to the oldest trick in the powerful's playbook, reputation laundering. Retreat? Not his style. He rebranded. Post-arrest, Epstein aggressively recast himself as a benefactor. Charities suddenly got cash. Academic projects found a new backer. He wormed his way into elite humanitarian and scientific circles, places where credibility is currency. Universities took his money. Non-profits rolled out the welcome mat. Prestigious institutions opened their doors. But despite all the PR polish, the stain of his past didn't budge. That's when Epstein allegedly had an epiphany. Cash alone wouldn't cut it. Donations weren't enough. What he needed next was a human shield, someone the public already trusted, someone whose reputation could drown out his crimes.
Talk about Oprah. Now, Oprah is limited in the context of the files, but there is clear collusion between Oprah and Jeffrey Epstein. What do you mean? Well, Sarah Ferguson, yes, the Duchess of York, she is involved with Epstein, and she is involved with Oprah. Let's talk about this specifically. Sarah sent Epstein an email saying, "I want to make sure you're aware I'm going on Oprah tomorrow, and she is going to ask me about my debts, the entrapment of last year, and the press about you in January." It'll be quick and at the top of this show, all of 10 seconds, a very small piece. However, I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of this and seek your advice on how you want me to answer. It will be a tiny piece. This is straight up collusion. This is Oprah passing through a message to Epstein. And you know what? Jeffrey responded to Sarah with the answer that he was supposed to give. Jeffrey was unfairly characterized as a pedophile by the tabloid press. Many years ago, Jeffrey pleaded guilty to soliciting underage prostitutes. He paid his debt to society and has sought forgiveness. I have nothing more to say. This was in 2011. This is clear collusion between Oprah.
And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Step back and Oprah's name doesn't just pop up once or twice next to scandal-ridden figures, it keeps showing up. Over the years, she's crossed paths with some of Hollywood's most powerful men, many later exposed and convicted in massive entertainment scandals. Names like Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, Sean Diddy Combs. Each of them, at different points, lounged comfortably inside Hollywood's elite circles. And each eventually became headline fodder for all the wrong reasons. On their own, any single connection might be dismissed as coincidence. But when the pattern keeps resurfacing, people start squinting. Patterns don't just appear out of nowhere. They creep up quietly, building until ignoring them is impossible. Take Harvey Weinstein. For decades, he wasn't treated like a predator, he was treated like royalty. Red carpets, awards, standing ovations. Oprah, like many others, publicly praised him before the allegations exploded. He was embraced, promoted, shielded, until the walls came crashing down. And now, looking back, it makes you wonder, how were so many glaring warning signs missed, or simply ignored?
Supported victims of sexual assault in the wake of numerous allegations against Harvey Weinstein, singer Seal Instagrammed this meme, showing Winfrey kissing the disgraced mogul. It reads, "When you have been part of the problem for decades, but suddenly they all think you are the solution."
Please welcome Seal!
The 54-year-old who's appeared on Oprah's show captioned his post, "Oh, I forgot, that's right, you'd heard the rumors, but you had no idea he was actually serially young starry-eyed actresses, my bad." While Weinstein maintains his innocence, Seal hasn't commented further, and Oprah has not responded.
This moment is a really powerful time for everybody to get woke.
Fans have come to her defense, pointing out Winfrey is a sexual survivor. They also posted pics of Seal's ex, Heidi Klum.
In Hollywood, critics argue that profit always trumps everything else. As long as the cash keeps flowing, the suffering of children fades into background noise. Whistleblowers claim silence itself is a currency. You're rewarded for it, paid for it, manipulated by it. Those massive checks? Not just pay for talent, they are leverage. An unspoken deal to stay compliant, to ignore what should never be ignored. Some say this is how predators tighten their grip, lure celebrities with life-changing money, and once it's accepted, the power dynamic flips. The payment isn't just for appearances, it's for obedience, for looking the other way, for keeping quiet when your gut screams otherwise. Critics insist Hollywood's hierarchy protects insiders, letting certain figures rise unscathed while scandals vanish behind closed doors. Years ago, Dave Chappelle famously walked away from a huge deal, claiming he didn't trust the industry's hidden expectations. At the time, many laughed, some mocked, others called him unstable. Even Oprah Winfrey publicly joked about his choice, cementing the idea he'd thrown away success. For years, Dave was treated like a punchline. But now, with more conversations surfacing about power behind the scenes, fans are re-evaluating. Some believe he didn't just reject a contract, he spotted the trap before it snapped shut. Refusing the money, refusing the silence, refusing the control. That's not just saying no, it's stepping entirely outside the system. Back then, few understood. Now, the warning signs are glaring.
Outside of my frame of reference, I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
Okay. When you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see before, look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to me."
Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time in their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
No.
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy, but it's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
And I felt like in a lot of instances, I was deliberately being put through stress. and they do what's called a salt trap. I didn't know this. Apparently baboons love salt.
Okay.
So they put a lump of salt in a hole, and they wait for the baboon. The baboon comes, sticks his hand in the hole, grabs the salt. Salt makes his hand bigger, and he's trapped. He can't get his hand out. Now, if he's smart, all he does is let go of the salt. Baboon doesn't want to let go of the salt. Then the bushman just comes, takes the baboon, throws him in the cage, and gives him all the salt he wants. And then the baboon gets thirsty. The bushman lets him out the cage. The first place the baboon runs to is water. Bushman follows him, and they both drink to their fill. And in that analogy, I felt like the baboon.
The circle around Jeffrey Epstein doesn't shrink, it swells. Every new document feels less like closure and more like another door being kicked open. With this latest batch, fragments that once seemed random are snapping together like pieces of a far darker puzzle. What used to sound like scattered rumors is now starting to feel carefully orchestrated. And then there are the names. Not small, forgettable names. We're talking people who shape governments, move markets, and control entire industries. Former US presidents, tech billionaires, corporate power brokers, even royal bloodlines. Figures at the absolute top of the food chain are suddenly under a blinding spotlight. Even more unsettling, many of these names were whispered about years ago. They surfaced briefly, caused a stir, then quietly vanished. At the time, the media waved it off as coincidence, loose association, or baseless speculation. Easy to dismiss, easy to forget. But now, with this fresh pile of files, those same names are reappearing, this time tied to clear timelines, repeated communications, and documented links that place them far closer to Epstein's world than anyone had previously admitted. Suddenly, what once sounded like noise is starting to look very much like a pattern.
Chairman of a prominent law firm is stepping down over his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Paul Weiss law chair Brad Karp says in a statement, quote, "Recent reporting has created a distraction and has placed a focus on me that's not in the best interest of the firm." The firm says Karp will remain with the firm, just in a different role. Senior Washington reporter Will Staken is here for more. Hi, Will. So what's the latest on this growing list of prominent people facing scrutiny over the Epstein files?
Yeah, Diane, well I think, Mr. Karp right here is kind of the latest fallout from these Epstein files. Like you said, the really powerful law firm Paul Weiss announced that Mr. Karp would be stepping down after his name appeared in these files. Now, the law firm did not give a reason why Mr. Karp is stepping down, and previously the law firm denied Mr. Karp had any wrongdoing, but with this release of these files, his name appears in the files, mostly with his assistant trying to schedule meetings with Mr. Epstein. But there's an email between Mr. Karp and Epstein where he's asking about if he could help, get his son some kind of job in an upcoming Woody Allen film. So I think these emails, obviously are continuing to fall out across, widespread industries. It's kind of the latest fallout here. We saw recently that popular wellness influencer Peta Attia also stepped down from his role at the protein company.
Careers are already toppling in the wake of these newly released files, and at the heart of the storm sits billionaire Bill Gates. The records make one thing clear: Gates and Jeffrey Epstein were far from casual acquaintances. Their connection was real, documented, and traceable. According to the timeline, their meetings began around 2011. And that detail matters, because by then Epstein's criminal conviction was already public knowledge. This wasn't ignorance or coincidence. The documents show they met multiple times, from private dinners to closed-door meetings in New York. These weren't accidental run-ins or fleeting introductions, they were intentional encounters. And now, as more details emerge, those meetings are being scrutinized in a far harsher, entirely new light.
On his name before, there are more unsettling allegations surrounding Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. Yep, came out as part of the release. It was revealed that back in 2013, Epstein allegedly claimed that Gates was looking to get medication to treat an STD because of having sex with Russian girls. Keyword Russian, we'll get back to that. Yeah, apparently Epstein had penned this draft email on behalf of a Gates advisor who wanted to maybe leave the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So Epstein seemingly wrote in this guy's voice, "In my role as his right hand, I had been asked on multiple occasions and in hindsight wrongly acquiesced into participating in things that have ranged from the morally inappropriate to the ethically unsound, and had been repeatedly asked to do other things that get near and potentially over the line into the illegal. From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of with Russian girls, to facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments, I feel I owe it to my friends and future colleagues to admit a moral failure. So there was a spokesperson for Bill Gates who rejected the allegations, saying these claims are absolutely absurd and completely.
It's almost unbelievable how far Jeffrey Epstein's reach stretched. Into the offices of presidents, the palaces of princes, the boardrooms of billionaires, the very seats of global power. And the question that keeps creeping back is terrifyingly simple. Did no one care that Epstein was already a convicted sex offender? The documents suggest that, for some, the answer might have been a shocking no. In fact, critics say a handful of ultra-wealthy figures seemed even more drawn to him after his arrest, treating his infamy as twistedly fascinating rather than horrifying. According to legal correspondence and email records in the newly released files, Prince Andrew and Epstein were allegedly involved in arranging encounters with women at Epstein's Florida estate. One account claims an exotic dancer was promised payment for explicit performances that never fully arrived. Other documents suggest Epstein may have orchestrated introductions between Prince Andrew and multiple young women across international locations. One allegation references a London meeting in 2010 with a 26-year-old Russian woman, years after Epstein's conviction was already public. The fallout has been severe. Prince Andrew has had to relinquish titles, roles, and public standing. But the truly unsettling part? According to statements from a former girlfriend, he reportedly expressed no remorse, implying that being on Epstein's list was, to him, a mark of prestige, a signal that you belonged. And for many watching from the outside, that mindset may be the most disturbing revelation of all.
That was very powerful. So like if you were on the scene and you were powerful, like to be honest, like if you're not in those files, it would be an insult because it just means that you were a bit of a loser.
Right. So the people who aren't in the files are the...
Yes.
Okay. Are you in the files?
Well, of course I am, because it's any journalist that wrote about it.
That's an astonishing attitude, isn't it? You're the loser because you're not in this. I find
all of this begs the obvious question. How on earth was Jeffrey Epstein even allowed into the circles he moved in? Epstein didn't just wander in by accident. He was strategically placed. Connections like his are crafted through gatekeepers, intermediaries, and institutions that profit from keeping certain people linked and certain secrets buried. Royal families don't casually socialize with random financiers. Someone they trust has to vouch for them. And that's the most unsettling part of this entire saga. Considering how long Epstein operated with almost no scrutiny, many are now asking whether powerful institutions simply failed, or chose not, to investigate him with the rigor his crimes demanded.
What do you, if I gun to your head, what do you think your best assessment of what Epstein, who was Epstein, who was he working for?
Well, I don't know, right? So I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them, right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely...
good at laundering money.
The moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain. Yeah. He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, you know, if you're state-funded, you're funded by Israel, and Israel's funded by America, and, you know, there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric?
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman, I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap, and he's bouncing around, so her tits are juggling around. While
he's asking math questions.
Yeah, talking serious. So he was obvious.
Finally, the most shocking revelation of all. There's been endless speculation about whether Jeffrey Epstein cooperated with authorities, but no confirmed agreement has ever been publicly released. Newly surfaced reports suggest that, right before his death, Epstein had agreed to cooperate and name everyone he had worked with. Officially, it was ruled as suicide. But between the malfunctioning cameras, sleeping guards, broken bones in his neck, and the fact that he allegedly possessed information that could implicate billionaires, politicians, royalty, and intelligence-linked figures, the situation looks far murkier. And here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say. If Epstein was indeed naming names, even preliminarily, that would give some of the most powerful people on the planet a very real incentive to ensure he never testified. To be clear, though, there is no public list, no fully confirmed cooperation agreement, and no official acknowledgement that Epstein formally became an informant before his death.
According to an FBI record, Epstein was possibly about to cooperate with the feds right before he died. That on July 29, 2019, his lawyers and the federal prosecutors in this case, in very general terms, discussed the possibility of a resolution of the case and the possibility of the defendant's cooperation. Cooperation's key. Defense counsel did not make a specific proposal, and they did not indicate what the nature of Epstein's cooperation might be, if any. But it was suggested that defense counsel contact SDNY if Epstein was prepared to accept responsibility for his conduct and/or they had a specific proposal for a resolution of this case. Okay, so maybe he was going to work out a deal and then he dies, right? That looks suspicious. This is a guy who had connections to the rich and powerful, potentially had a lot of information.
We're constantly told to trust the headlines, trust the official verdicts, trust that justice was done. But if that were really the case, why does this story still feel so far from over? Why are there countless names, mountains of documents, and almost no accountability? Maybe Epstein was just one man. Or maybe he was something far more, a middleman, a hub, a liability who knew far too much.